Hi, my name's Steve Ray from Makita UK and I'm here at UK Planet Tools to bring you some new products we're launching from the Makita UK range. Starting off with some OPE products, some new and some upgrades to the current range, woodworking tools over to heating your meals on the job site using battery powered microwave. We're now going to look into these products into more detail. So this is the MW001G Makita Microwave on the XGT 40 volt platform. It takes the 40 volt batteries, so we'll start with that at the back. You can see there it takes two 40 volt batteries, but it only requires one to run the machine. The extra battery will just give you double the runtime. So the battery there slots on the back. As you can see on the top as well, I have a large carrier handle as well, so it's easy to transport around the work site. So we can spin that back round there now. On the front of the machine, we have tempered glass as well, so it's nice, safe and secured in there, so no chance of it getting damaged. We then open the door on the left-handed side hinge, which is LED backlit. So when you're cooking your food, you can see what's going on inside the microwave. And also when you open and close it, it does light up the area so you can see where you're putting and taking out your food. On the top of the machine, we have our power on and off button, as well as our wattage selection, which goes from 500 watts to 350 watts just by pushing the button there. We then have our heat time adjustment, which is just done by turning the knob on there, and it goes up in increments of 10 seconds up to a maximum of 20 minutes. There is a battery display on the screen as well, which will tell you the state of your batteries. Obviously at the moment I only have one battery in, so it's only giving me one battery indicator, but if we put a second on, it will light up next to it with the other battery indication. We then have an off button, so if I do turn the machine on, I can then just turn the off button and it will go back to 0. As well as if we turn the machine on and you are running it to cook some food, if someone does pick it up or it gets knocked, as soon as the machine tilts, it will automatically error out and then give you an error code on top of the machine, which is quite easy to clear just by turning the off button and putting it back on. So that is the MW001G Makita XGT Microwave, available on the UK Planet Tools website now. So this is the HS012GZ Makita 40 volt circular saw. It's a 165mm blade on the machine, and the machine itself has a 1300 watt motor which powers this blade, and it has a spindle speed of 5,200 RPMs. The depth of cut on this machine in the straight will be 57mm, and when it's beveled over to the 45-degree angle, it will give you a cutting depth of 41mm. Features of the machine as well, it also includes soft start as well as AWS Bluetooth dust extraction. It has constant speed control, an electric brake, and it also has anti-restart function as well. So if the machine is in the locked on position with the battery on, when you take the battery off and put the battery back on, it won't automatically start off. The anti-restart will mean you will have to take it off of the lock function and then start the tool again, otherwise it won't let you use it. It also has an LED job light at the front which lights up the area that you're working and the area that you're cutting. And then on the machine itself, we have a large joystick at the front to hang it up out the way, an AWS Bluetooth dust extraction button, which is where your Bluetooth chip goes. We've got a variable speed trigger as well as the lock on and off button on the top. Adjustment for your depth of cut on the side as well as adjustment for your bevel. We then have the Allen key housed in the side of the unit, which is used for blade change, which is done as well with the spindle lock on the inside. And then on this side of the machine, you can obviously see the open blade there. You've got a pendulum guard there, which must swing round to protect you and keep the blade covered up. And we have our dust extraction port on the front. Also included in the box is the metal guide rail, which is obviously to give us a nice straight edge along when we're cutting boards. All we do with that is slot it into the side of the machine. And on this side, we have a locking nut. We just screw that down nice and tight. Place that hard up against the edge of our material, and then we can run that down for a nice straight line. So that is the HS012GZ, available as a body only as a GZ01, or you can buy it as a HSGD201 kit, which includes 2 batteries and a charger in a MacPack case. So that is the HS012GZ, available on the UK Planet Tools website now. This is the DUC357Z chainsaw from Makita. It runs on the 18-volt platform. It's powered by a 610-watt motor. The machine itself has a 350mm bar at the front of the machine with a 3/8 pitched chain, which is all done by the toolless mechanism on the side here. So to take the blade and the bar off the machine, we've got a quick release button there which we push down. We can then rotate that clockwise or anti-clockwise to take the bar on or off. Once it's in place, we can just clip that back into position. And then if we're tensioning the bar or untensioning it, we do have a tensioner down here which is done by the finger. It is indicated with a plus and a minus, and we can just rotate that to loosen off or tighten up the chain on the front of the machine. The machine itself does run at 7.7 meters a second squared on the chain speed. So it is a slower machine, but it's a high torque machine. So it's for cutting nice thick branches. The way we get that high torque out of here is it does have Makita's mechanical reduction system on the gears, which then gives us much more torque out of the slower speed. The vibration on the machine is only 5.5 meters a second, and the decibels of the machine are 98 decibels. So we will need to be wearing ear defenders with this machine when we're using it. The braking system on here, we have two brakes. So we have an electric brake, which is done by the trigger. And then we actually have the mechanical brake on the top there, which is an inertia brake, which we pull into place when we started the machine. And then if the machine kicks back, that will knock on and automatically cut the machine out. But also, as I said, if you take your finger off the trigger, it will stop pretty instantly with the electric brake. When we come around this side, there is a lock-off function. So it isn't to lock the machine in the on position. It is just to keep the trigger from being depressed when not needed. So when we want to use the machine, we put the battery on, we take off the inertia brake, we then take off the lock on the trigger, pull the trigger, and we can use the machine. That will then turn to that position, and then we can't lock the trigger when you allow that to come out. So on this side as well, we do have our oil reservoir, which is for our chain oil. That is 150 millilitres on the side there, and it is easy to undo with your fingers as well. We can then take our 18-volt battery, place it on the side of the machine, clip it into position, and when we spin it around there, you can now see from the open side, if we push the indicator, we can see how many bars of life we've got left on our battery. So that is the DUC357Z Makita 18-volt chainsaw, available now on the UK Planet Tools website. So here we have the DUH507 and 607 18-volt Makita hedge trimmers. The difference between the two models in front is one, which is the 607, has a 600mm bar, and the second one, which is the 507, has a 500mm bar. Everything else between the two machines is identical. So now we've got the differences out of the way with these two, I'll just put this out of the way and we'll concentrate on the main machine. So the motor power in this machine is a 250 watt motor, and it produces 2,700 strokes per minute. The blade itself, as you can see, is got an aluminium frame on there now holding it as well, and it allows the user to now change the blades themselves rather than them getting sent in to get changed over. They can now do that repair themselves. The tooth spacing, or the max diameter of branch that can fit into these, is 15 millimeters in diameter, so quite a decent size on there as well. And then the hole gap itself is 28 mil, but the maximum branch thickness would be 15 mil on there. It does have a handguard on the front as well, and then one of the safety features on this machine, so if you put your battery on the machine and then pull the trigger, the actual motor won't engage. So incorporated into this top handle is a blue trim on the inside, which is your safety switch. So as long as you've got that depressed, you can then apply the trigger and start the machine. But as soon as you let go of that, it will automatically cut the machine off for safety. We then have on the top of the machine a little LED light, so that will tell you when you've got the battery plugged in, it will light up, and then when the battery is getting to a low level, under 20% generally, it will start flashing with a red indication to let you know that you need to start charging that battery. In the box it comes with a chip receiver that fits onto the side, so if you are cutting the top of the hedges you can catch that with the receiver. It does have an electric brake built in, as well as the emergency brake that I've already told you about in the handle itself. And the construction of the machine as well is a double construction machine for extra low vibration. So what that does with the double construction on there is it only gives you 1.1 meters a second squared in vibration on the front hand and 1.2 on the back hand. So extremely low on vibration and will let you use the machine all day long. Also on the machine, if you are using it with an 18-volt battery, if you're only using the 3 amp hour 18-volt battery, this machine with the motor that's inside it will let you run this machine for 77 minutes, which is quite a long run time considering that's on the 18-volt 3 amp hour. Obviously your run time will get higher and higher the more amp hours you put in your batteries, but with a 3 amp hour 18-volt, 77 minutes run time. So that is the DUH507 and 607 from Makita, and they are available on the UK Planet Tools website now. Now we have the DUC101, which is the 18-volt pruning saw, and then we have the UC100D, which is the 12-volt version pruning saw as well. Both saws, in terms of how they work, are exactly the same. So the specs, the features and the performance are identical. So whether you buy the 12-volt or the 18-volt, they are identical. The only difference is one takes the 18-volt and one takes the 12-volt battery on the back. So now we've sorted that out, we shall put that to one side and concentrate on the features and benefits of this unit here. So this is the DUC101, which is the 18-volt version. Now with the machine, obviously it takes the 18-volt battery on the back. On the machine itself, you then have a large hand guard, so the hand that is holding the trigger is well protected with a guard system there. To stop anything from flapping down or crushing against your hand. You've then got a variable speed trigger. Now with the variable speed trigger you have a lock off button which is used from the left or the right. So you can push it down with your left hand, or if you've got your right hand on there you can then depress that there and then engage the trigger. On the front side of the machine there you've got toolless blade change, so if you need to take the blade and the chain off, we can just pull that handle up there and rotate it anti-clockwise. That will then release the cover and allow us to take our blade off and change our blade if necessary. If not, we just pop the blade back on, and then with the chain on there as well, it has a self-tensioning spring in there. So as soon as you engage the blade onto the back plate, put your chain onto that, it will then spring load and self-tension so that you don't have to use any thumb switches or screwdrivers to tension. We can then lock it into place and put the cover down, and the saw is now ready to go. On the chain itself, it is a 0.325 pitch chain, and it is 100mm in length, so you've got 100mm to play with. When using the machine as well, it does have a top guard, so when you're pushing through materials or larger branches, that top guard will retract to allow you to cut through, and then it will self-retract down to stop you from damaging your hand on top of the machine as well. So it will lift up and then self-retract down. On the other side of the machine, we have our oil tank reservoir, which will hold 55 millilitres of oil for your chain. And to open that up, we do have a thumb button that we just push in. It will lift the latch. We can unscrew that, fill it with oil, screw it back up, and then push that latch back down. The machine itself runs at 8 meters a second squared. So your chain speed is 8 meters a second. And the machine itself has an electric brake, so if you do take your finger off the trigger, the machine will automatically stop. It is powered with a brushless motor on both versions as well. So that is the DUC101 and the UC100D from Makita, available in 18 volt and 12 volt. And they are on the UK Planet Tools website now. This is the DAS180 air blower from Makita. So it's an 18 volt air blower. It produces 1.1 cubic squared meters of air velocity a minute, and with an air volume of 200 meters a second, by using 7 different nozzles across the 4 different modes available. The max sealed suction on this is 10.3 kPa. So not only can it blow, with the suction attachment that goes onto the back, it will then allow you to suck up materials as well. And with that, as I said, it's a 10.3 kPa on the sealed suction. Your max air flow pressure is 29.9. So the airflow pressure on there is high as well. And the machine itself is nice and easy to use. So features on the machine are, we do have a lock off button on the side, so we can push that across to allow us to now variable speed by the trigger. You also on the side have a lock on button. So if I depress the trigger fully, push in the lock on button and release, it will now leave the machine in the on situation. And if I want to take it off of that, I can just push the button again and it will release the trigger and turn the machine off. We then have on the front where you attach your different nozzles. As you can see here, we've got a selection of the nozzles that come in the box as standard. We can then take our nozzle, easy to apply, clip it into the front. It is now fixed and easy to use. When we're done with that, all we do is twist the nozzle and it will allow us to take it off. So one touch action for installing and taking off our accessories we're using with the machine. It does run off the 18 volt platform. So with an 18 volt battery on the bottom, you can see there, the machine will now light up when I depress the trigger. It will now show you that we've got an LED light on the front, and at the bottom we've got our 4 different mode selections. So for our air velocity, and we can just cycle through that with the 4 different modes which will light up into the selected mode that required. It also has anti-restart on there as well. So if this is in the locked on position and your battery runs out and you take it off, recharge your battery and put it back on the machine, it won't allow you to start the machine up. It will make you take the lock off button and reset the machine, and then we can go again. So that is the DAS180 air blower from Makita. Available on the UK Planet Tools website now. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you found that informative. For all the products we've talked about today, please head over to the UK Planet Tools website where you'll find all the tools and deals available. And again, thank you from UK Planet Tools and Makita UK.